Now, I'm not one to be a businessman. I'm not one to be an activist or somebody who's just selling people things, and I'm not here to do that. But we are only going to unify people through having everybody with us. Okay, that's the only way you can unify a population, is if they can agree upon one principle, one underlying foundation set in stone. For people to agree upon something that is already natural would be even better, isn't it? Right? But that's actually what this whole movement is about. It's about nature. And I don't know how much this could be more stressed upon in a world of chaos. May you say communist infiltration is what we see right now in the world of politics. But we also see a lot of different sides, left versus right, fighting against one another, and a perfect division being set in stone from one media channel fighting another, one politician fighting another. You have many different dichotomies, and people fall to them. And I warn people to just be careful. Not that you shouldn't fall to them, even though you probably shouldn't, but that you should be careful, and I hope you really know where your intentions are. Because I really know where my intentions are is with NITA. And I really know that my intentions here is simply just to promote conversation. And that's all we're doing. That's all that really is needed to create change. It's a matter, though, however, of how much input, how much effort you put into the matter. Otherwise, it's not going to mean anything. Otherwise, it's not going to be more. Now, if you're doubting this in any which way, that too is the problem. It's saying, well, it's impossible. Well, it can't be done. Well, you can't unify everybody under one thing. Well, then tell me, what is? What would? Tell me something that's not divisive in the very nature. Tell me something that the media isn't going to spin, because they're going to spin everything, okay? So anything with enough popularity, especially something that challenges the mainstream, is going to be spun, and it's definitely going to be distorted, and it's definitely going to be infiltrated, and it's definitely going to be just pushed so many different directions. People will make their own websites and own movements and whatever, and you see, to be honest, it doesn't bother me. Because I know that as long as a simple premises is at hand, then we're good. And that simple premises is, as you see here on the front page of the website. That's all I actually ask for people to know. I call this, there's a little part right here under why join the movement, the quote-unquote movement. I call that the share sheet. Because that is what you're sharing with every individual, to which that is the principle, that is the foundation, to which we can then grow upon. It's the building that we're creating, if you will. And certainly, being that it's rooted in nature, it's a natural process for change. It's not one where we're going out of our way, we're doing protest, we're begging on our knees for change. No, we're being the change that we want to be. Instead of pointing the finger at other people, we're pointing at ourselves. So this is based upon principle. This isn't based upon convincing others. It's based upon reasoning. It's based upon knowledge. It's based upon understanding. You see, the independent media needs this more than ever, because there's so many people who generally know what's happening in the world. They know there's an infiltration. They know America's dying. They know that morality is dying. That's the key here, especially with all this race talk, is that morality is dying, and that we see from the law of morality, from the natural law, that as morality declines, freedom declines, and as freedom declines, morality declines. Well, then that makes sense to where we are, aren't we? Aren't it? And that's why we have here on the page for more advanced learning, and then you see I have natural law lectures by Mark Passio, somebody who also doesn't have much presence in the independent media per se. I would say that to get his voice more out to the public would be helpful, especially if he's talking about, again, the innate principles to mankind, the stuff that can't be disagreed upon with understanding and reasoning. Now, if you want to disagree with it upon reasoning and understanding, go ahead. But realize that when you argue, are you unifying anybody? Not quite. Not quite. Notice it says the simple promotion of question, conversation, and thought. So I want people to question. I don't want people to always be agree upon anything. I don't want people to agree upon exactly how I envision the world. No. No. In fact, I have a whole channel here on YouTube, BitChute, and Brighteon, mostly BitChute and Brighteon, and Well, I say my own thoughts just like any other human being should. I'm not a robot. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to speak off of some transcript or teleprompter. I'm going to be human. Because guess what? This movement relies on your human ability. If you're going to share it with others, you're going to use your human nature, which is talking with one another. Do you notice a lot of people don't even want to talk to one another? How do you think masks contribute to that situation? You know, funny thing, is it just a coincidence? Is it just a coincidence after coincidence that Antifa was wearing masks for years, and then all of a sudden we have a virus, and now we have to all wear masks, and Antifa's back on the rise, and you have all these reports about communism taking over America. And we see how there's a collapse coming in the future, and that the strongest economy in the world is China, and that we're looking up to China because they handled the virus correctly, according also to Lockstep in 2014, as portrayed by Harry Vox. So you have all these dots you can connect here, and you could say, oh, well, it's communism, it's that, and we need to promote America. And is that really unifying, though? People have now spun that in different directions, and now you're saying, okay, well, they're going to spin anything. They're going to spin anything. But here's the difference. Both America and both communism, both capitalism, all this isms and different phraseologies, different cults and movements, if you will, which is why mine's in quotes, they're not rooted on nature. They're not rooted in God. They may say, oh, well, God bless this, God bless that. But that natural law is God's law. It's the law of the land. So just something to question, something to look out for, if you will, if you want to become a more central guide. See, I assume people in independent media would be more central guides in this. So I encourage you to print up flags. I can send you a flag. And you can print up the share sheet and share that with people. Talk with them one-on-one. It's not about giving out flyers. Again, it's not about selling anything to anybody. But if you are going to give out flyers, or you are to promote information through knowledge and through awareness, knowledge is what's going to really cure us from this condition. It's education. And I went in depth with this with my 35-hour plus documentary that you'll see here if you go to disclaimers and you go to evidence and perspective. So, evidence and perspective, yes, the natural law was passed, word of mouth, because it is the ancient knowledge through all the years, through all the mystery traditions, from the Bible to Buddha to all the religions. So if we can unite upon natural law, and it's considered a unifying field theory, and if we can unite upon nature being the answer, especially to a world where people are becoming denatured in mentality, in heart, in health, literally, if they're being pumped with vaccines or whatever you want to call it, you may see this to a different extent from me. You may not agree with the vaccines in particular, but you'll agree with another thing. That's fine. See, your presence is necessary. Your voice is necessary. Your own thoughts are necessary. That uniqueness is beautiful. There's nobody saying that we should get rid of that. Okay? Now, well, there's a lot of people saying that, but I'm saying it within NITA, within this movement that I'm here to clear the distortion from. One such ways I'm clearing the distortion is saying, well, I'm not saying you should agree with me 100%. I'm not saying that you should just go about watching all the documentaries. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. We just want to unify. And if we seek to unify, we're not going to choose fighting words. We're going to want to sympathize. We're going to want to appeal. We're going to want to transition society in a way that is beneficial for all parties involved, whether you're in the lows of life or the highs of life. Whether you're in the highs of life and you want to find a balance within your life. Whether you're in the lows of life and you don't know which direction to go. That's the point. It's not about telling people what to do, but rather giving them the direction so they can lead themselves, because they can, given their human nature. And that's the beauty of it, is you have all these aspects that I detail here on the front page, just simple as it is. The nature of our world, great healing power of nature, simplicity, less demands and implications from forces of government. If you really reflect upon the state of our world, folks, is that one of government constantly intruding into our lives, or is it one where we are self-sustainable? Is it one where we get to decide our path in life, or do people feel like they need others all the time to help them in their life, and that's why they have a lack of destiny, a lack of creativity, a lack of passion? you have to ask these questions, because creativity is what's going to move us forward. So you create, this flag, and that's a form of my creativity, and then you can take that, you can put that into a whole new docu-series, you can put that into a whole new video, put it into music, put it into whatever you want. I want to inspire you to create as you are intended to do, so you can share your message among this greater message, because this is just a greater message, because we want to unify. It's known as the One Unifying Counter Agenda on purpose, because we need one agenda to go against the one other agenda that is of the elites. Okay, so you have one that's pro-freedom, pro-truth, pro-understanding, pro-reasoning, pro-morality, pro-objective, moral, right behavior according to the positive expression of natural law, and one on the complete opposite, one that is technically of evil, technically of essentially the real chaos. Okay, not what they like to say anarchy nowadays is not chaos. Anarchy in its real definition means no rulers, doesn't mean no rules. Okay, not saying that we should move toward an anarchy. This is not the point. Stop labeling, stop pulling yourself to those extremes. We need to have our voices out there to begin with. Okay, there's a select few hundred people ruling over millions of people. And people let that happen. People fall to the system. They say, well, if this person doesn't get elected, this is what's going to happen. What if I were to say that's going to happen anyways? What if I'm going to say, well, they pick people who they want to be in power? What if I say, okay, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe it isn't, but it doesn't matter either way, because the very nature of government itself is the problem, or the very nature of cops is the problem. The very nature of ethnic groups that are immoral or have disintegrated families is the problem. Yeah, of course, if they're going to be immoral people because they have disintegrated families. We have to look at the root cause of things, and we have to look at the big picture. We have to look at this at a human species, look at it, because we're all humans here. I don't look at anybody differently. You think in the medical empire we're looking at people differently? Oh, now we're going to have to push everything to the medical empire? Like, you're not treating me because I'm this? No. I think I respect the medical empire a lot for looking at people as hopefully sources of income. I'd say that's where the privilege is an income, if anything. But the point is that everybody's a human being. It doesn't matter who you are, and even the people in government, and people want to put them down. They're pointing the fingers. They're not pointing right at themselves. We have to be the change. If we want to see the world, we have to seek understanding. We have to unify with everybody. I mean everybody. Now, if you don't think everybody's possible, I'm telling you it is. I'm telling you that somewhere at some time, you can get everybody. It is very possible, especially when you have family members who understand, perhaps maybe 1 out of 50 family members looks into actually what the natural law actually is, and they start to learn more. That makes a big impact. Just getting simply more people to understand what natural law is, because once that is in circulation, well, can man's law exist? If natural law is in existence, well, if it does, it'll be in the right direction. Right? But we will understand what exactly man's law is based on learning about the natural law. We'll understand what our world here has for us as the law of the land, the real law of the land. And we'll understand the real knowledge of the world that has been given to us. I hope people, live their lives and they realize the importance they have here, living here. The amazing ability they have as a human being to do all the things, as I said, to create, to talk, to understand, to reason. Because if you use it, then that's where the magic comes out of. Okay, the more effort you put into this, the more we're going to get out of it. So we do need to unify, and I'll be reaching out to everybody. I'll be showing people how to do it. I can't show, obviously, too much of anything. Like, I can't show people's houses and all of this. Like, that's not going to happen. But I will, show time to time different ways of talking to different people. If you have questions about this movement, for which I may assume you very may will have, please ask them in the comment section below. I will make a video specifically toward that question, specifically toward that topic, so we can address it here for people who are wondering. Because I don't want people to think the wrong thing of this. This is not a cult. This is not some, jump on board and just go with it and depend on me and just sit around, let us do it. That's not about it. It's about actually prompting ourselves to action and prompting ourselves to realize the power that we have. And if you don't know what that is perfectly fine. We can help you do that. You see, we're all technically health coaches here, and I detail this heavily in the last documentary. That is part 3, A Different Perspective, a compilation by Cory. That's me. And I detail it heavily there. I even have diagrams and depictions of how this movement develops in time. I have timestamps for the other documentaries of, for example, the cycles of government and how we can prevent harm, which is essentially, right, the main goal, because we don't want to have many people die or many people succumb to the fate of politicians being fooled as they have time and time again, government after government. But people don't learn from the past. And so what I'm trying to do is help people learn from the past. What I'm trying to do is promote a really well-rooted principality that we can live within our lives. You ever hear people say, well, I live according to my principles, or nature's my church. This is what I'm talking about. These are universal principles, universal things. People usually don't put them under the banner of anything, and I decide, okay, well, I can. Okay, I could put everything under nature, which, okay, God, medicine, real God, real law, anything that is real, raw, down to earth, right? Down to earth people who are nice, people who just want to get the message about, just want to help others, don't want to rule over their fellow men, because people who are good people don't want to rule over their fellow men. You ever question? That's the thing. Let's understand that. Let's understand that the personal lives is what transcends to the rest of the world. What you do now is going to help the rest of the world. So although all these different isms are growing and maybe you disagree again with some of the things I say, that's fine. But I like the fact that you're questioning me. I want you to question me. That's the difference. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I actually want you to. But I also want you to see that we also need to unify. And the only way we can is if we do understand and if we do agree to the extent of putting one unifying counter agenda. Tell me, what is more unifying than nature? And I just would say, well, you can't. You can't. And nature's the answer is a very simple phrase. It's something you can understand. You can apply it to pretty much any situation, and it starts to make sense. It starts to make sense. But I detail how this would develop in a 6-step speculation also on the website under disclaimers. I put it there because clearly I want this to be the spotlight on the front page. It's simple. I don't want people to get too complexified, too thrown off. You need to appeal to people, to their consciousness, their level of consciousness. This is not to manipulate them. It's to bring them up to enlightenment, right? I believe someone called it a maverick, right? Or what is it? Yeah, but or a light mason, or somebody who brings the light, the enlightenment to the many people, a rather destructive process, or a rather awakening, a rather amazing process. Many people talk about spirituality, they talk about this, they talk about that, and there's always a lot of speculation. There's always a lot of people saying, well, this is crazy, why are they doing this? This is weird. But in reality, it's because they're seeing this bigger picture and they realize there's more to life than what is just what we see, and we want to do good for the world. We want to do good. So that intention at heart is what I look for. I look for that in individuals. I realize that people who are older are going to have more common sense, more critical thinking skills, and people who are younger might not. But the people who are younger might be more open to the information at hand because they're more vulnerable and they haven't been conditioned so long into their life. So you have to realize the truths to the matter here in the universe. That, okay, if you actually want to heal the world, I'm talking to health practitioners out there like myself, okay? If you actually want to heal the world, you really have to get down to the root cause, right? You want to get down to the root cause, just like you do with a disease. And, how do you support someone? You need to have other people with you. You need to have family. You need to have friends. You need to be there for you. So, and how do you heal the body? From the inside out. So you don't destroy the system from the outside in. You destroy it from the inside out. And by destroy, I just mean disintegrate. Right? If it doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve our nature, it's not meant to be, then don't be part of it. It's like saying, oh, I'm getting this belief system out of my brain, because essentially that belief system would be called statism here, right? And people don't know what that is. People want to make assumptions also about what the natural law is about. Well, stay tuned for Mark Passio's documentary on it. I believe he's making like a whole movie about this. Okay, we're getting this message out there because we see it's the law of the land. We see it's the innate rules that and boundaries that we have. So if we see that people will die if they don't obey, or we see that people will suffer, or that mass casualty will take place, or that, I mean, many people don't listen, right, to the truth. They don't want to face the hardcore reality that all sides are, in a way, at fault. And that's simply living present and not wanting to control over another human being. Living content, it has certain conditions. Everything has certain dependencies to take place. This all must be considered, and I realize that, yes, you can come at me and say, well, this is going to happen. This is going to happen if you do it. And I realize that. I fully realize that there's implications to what I'm doing. But to not make this video any longer, I just want to say that I love you. I thank you for being a part of this journey. I hope you're taking on this journey for yourself. I want to see you represent with a flag. I want to see you represent talking to other people, representing, being the change that you want to be. Being it, right? The flag represents us and our presence, but we represent them and are present for the truth. And that's the difference. I hope you can sympathize now a little bit more, better seeing my face. I will do many different portrayals of this knowledge and this information. I believe at heart and intention, this is the right thing that we need to do. I will reach out to many of my fellow people in the medical community. Obviously, it's a very big field that affects many people. And ultimately, this is healing work. But ultimately, it's also freeing work. Freedom is healing. And freedom, many want to say it's dangerous. Okay, maybe more in the short term. But in the long term, you're saving millions of lives. In the short term, it still doesn't have to be. You see, simply with our belief systems, our mentality, and what we do in this life is really what's going to set us up. The minute you doubt yourself, the minute you say, well, this is not possible, think again. Think again. What is limiting us from our potential? What limits people from their health? If you connect the dots and you look at it on the world stage, well, health means whole. And what does government mean? Mind control. What does nature mean? Understanding the innate conditions, God. You know, this is why it's the answer. Because we're losing ourselves. We're losing our soul, our humanity. We don't know who we are anymore, folks. We're losing our essence, our being. It's compromised by every level. And I can go on, I can rant, I can get angry. Anger is a good expression, not to be, confused about. People don't always like Mark Passio's teaching style. Well, guess what? He has a dark background behind him. He has a rock band. Let him be. He has a message to share, and I believe it is very crucial. I believe many people have a great message to share. Many old-timers who don't go out much, maybe don't talk to people as much, and then they wonder, and they're like, oh, well, all these young people, they're crazy. They're doing all this crazy stuff to our world, and we're just relaxing. Well, yeah, you're relaxing. That's why it's happening. You're permitting these people to be crazy as they are. Or you can blame them all you want, but just don't forget that you are part of the problem. To some extent always, and you must accept that responsibility. And if you want to change the world, then you need to speak up about it. You need to be the change, though. And you can't create violence. You can't do protests. It's not going to change the world. It's going to change through using our human nature. It's going to change through using a natural process. So NITA offers this all, and I hope you can agree. I hope you can sympathize with me here. I hope that you can represent this movement by getting a flag, going to the website, clicking represent here, putting in your information, or hey, whatever way you want to do it, it's all good with me. Put NITA.ONE in your thumbnails, in the descriptions, re-upload, whatever you got to do. We need to get the message out there, and we need to create a lot of noise. And that way, we can truly unify under one banner, under one idea, though, essentially, at hand. And that's what's really going to help us here, is using our human nature and allowing ourselves to be as present as we should, as we've seen from Gandhi and the Buddha and all the ancient texts as we've covered in the documentaries extensively. Thank you for watching. This is Cory. Nature's the answer.